Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Scandal Panel. Can you handle the scandal? All right. I'm Stephen.
Ernest, John.
So today we are going to discuss ugly public behavior. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot of these signs in public places where it says like, please do not abuse our staff, and it seems to be getting more and more prevalent now. I think that really COVID is getting the best of us, and then maybe many of us are feeling very stressed, and we may be not intentionally taking it out on customer service people. Yeah. Any
And if
thoughts on this?
and if you use public transport, the scary thing is also on public transport. Like when you go onto the buses, there are signs that say, please don't abuse our bus captains and please don't abuse our staff. It must be that bad because the government won't spend money on useless posters. And there's so many of these posters around.
Yeah.
And I think all of us are in the service industry, have been in the service industry. So we'd like to discuss about, why is it getting worse? Is it just Karens or Kens, as they call it? What is going on?
Many of us have done customer service. I was a former email and telephone operator.
Yeah.
Jonathan is on a phone service line, right?
I've
And
been in
then,
retail for so many years. Yeah. It's
yes,
crazy.
yes. But is the situation getting worse because of COVID? What do you guys think?
I think it's getting worse, full stop. It's getting worse that people have to put signs and like when I go and help out with the medical people, every hospital counter has please don't abuse our nurses and all that. And it must be really, really so bad. The situation must be really so bad. It's crazy. Yes, everyone, why is there a reason to be rude? I mean, are people more impatient now? You think so?
I think there's this term that recently came up called the pandemic rage. I think it's affecting quite a lot of people. I think being cooped up at home is not good for the mental health. I mean, in general, and a lot of these what do you call that? Type A personalities. They want to get things done, but they can't really go out, and then so when they encounter a customer service, whether it's through the hotline, actually it's worse through the hotline because they can't see you, or whether it's in person, they tend to vent their frustrations, everything that has been pent up through the whole week or the whole month on the person that's attending to them. And I think that is a very bad behavior. And also, I think that because now that it's during the pandemic, everyone wants things to be done like immediately, fast, and they can't accept waiting or holding on. So that adds additional pressure onto the customer service and on the customer as well.
I think what's happening is that I always say, okay, what happens when you do something bad and you are sent to prison, right? You're sent to prison yourself. But basically what's happening is that your life is full of restrictions. Think about it.
Yeah.
When you're sent to prison, when you're being punished, you are in a place with full of restrictions. With this is what's happening.
Yeah.
The government, you're just living with full of restrictions.
Yeah.
And therefore people are having this anger and the way they treat other people is really terrible. Let us share our encounters. Stephen, Jonathan, have you encountered any of this on either side, or have you seen it?
Well, personally, for during COVID times, I've not encountered such incidents personally. Although I can see that when I teach my classes with the kids over Zoom, I'm a singing teacher, and because we can't do live singing now, so we conduct classes over Zoom, and many of us are really getting very fed up, very, very helpless about the situation. Some things on Zoom, it's not very effective. The sound quality doesn't pass through. And when we're preparing for exams, we have to reach a certain standard by a certain time. And then I'm frustrated because I cannot communicate as effectively over Zoom with the poor sound quality, and I can't work on their posture, their acting, their choreography over the computer. They just don't feel motivated to put on a good performance to a camera. rather than to a live audience or to an examiner that's in front of them.
But they
Yeah.
haven't shouted at you, right? They haven't screamed at you. They haven't like, fuck you, Stephen, what are you doing? They done that. You don't need a sign, right? You don't need a sign. Please do not shout at me or what. They still treat you,
Well, yes,
professionally.
I'm that teacher, so I think it is kind of a borderline respect, lah. So that they wouldn't dare to. I am also trying my best not to lose my temper. Actually, yeah, I found myself many times where if I don't control myself, I can easily just flare up and just be a
Have you
monster.
done it? Oh, we can ask, have you flared up at someone in the public? Have you?
In public, I have to say I'm usually very mild-mannered, but conducting these Zoom classes, I just have to hold myself back and not scream at them and just not go berserk at them. Or maybe express myself in humorous ways, where I can just kind of vent my frustrations, but they find it funny rather than offensive. For example, I created this, I call this my hall of shame. Do you see it?
Yeah,
See, it says
that's
no
cool.
sitting allowed. I could scold them, but it's funnier if I just put it on a virtual background and have it be there permanently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sitting allowed. People are not allowed to sit on your class during your classes.
Oh no, no! We stand throughout the entire singing
Okay.
class. My singing class is like weightlifting like that. It's very
Okay.
physically
Cool. Very
intensive.
good. Very good. Yeah, it's like the theater class, so no sitting allowed.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
Jonathan.
certainly.
Yeah, your turn.
Okay. Well, I work in a banking hotline. So the thing about COVID, how it impacted us was that, as you know, there was a period of time when branches had to close and all the customers had to actually do banking from home. So a lot of the customers who are not familiar with mobile banking or mobile apps or internet banking, I mean, you and me would be very familiar with that, right, Ernest?
Me too.
Yeah.
I hate internet banking.
Those who are not familiar would, of course, find it very hard to handle such IT things at such short notice. So a lot of the times they get very angry that the money cannot go over immediately, and then we can't tell them exactly where is the money exactly right now. So our bank had to come up with a lot of new systems, everything to do like money tracking, where's the funds transferred to, and we had to implement a lot of like internet banking series, like the new mobile app and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, just tell us what the customer did.
So there was this customer who called me from UK. Okay, and then she couldn't get her debit card, because her address is registered somewhere else. So when I told her that we couldn't do that unless she updated her banking details via her internet banking, she started screaming and shouting and say, I don't understand how bad it is in COVID. I said, yes, I do understand because we have COVID here. It's an international thing. So she started crying and then she started saying like, you don't get it. In Singapore, you don't have as many people dying as in the UK. And then it got very hysterical. And then I had to kind of like calm her down before eventually she accepted like alternative solutions. But at the start, it was like almost 45 minutes of screaming nonstop. And I just had to bear with it. Even my colleague, who was like juggling the messaging system was like saying, John, you're on the call for like 45 minutes. Is everything okay? And I was saying, no, not everything is okay. I have this customer screaming at me nonstop for the past 45 minutes. And then like, it's not just her. She's like just one example. I've been like, since the COVID started, with the progression of COVID, right, and all the lockdowns and everything, we're getting more and more irrational customers, more and more irate customers. So there was this point in time when, after about a year and a half, there was one week where I just kept bombarded by 3 or 4 toxic customers every day, until like at the end of the week, when one little trigger triggered me, and then I actually ended up snapping back at one of the callers. I mean, it was completely out of character for me because I'm known as the patient guy amongst all my call center colleagues. So for me to actually snap back at somebody, I wasn't rude or anything like that, but I just kind of like talked back. So Yeah, that was very out of character. So it just shows the amount of pressure that us customer service staff have to handle. And because it's not like, one-to-one kind of thing, it's like every day we have to handle like at least 30 to 40 phone calls. And imagine if like there's like 3 or 4 really toxic customers for the entire day, and it like lasts for the entire week. It's just like adds on this pressure to you. I think if you want to talk about like posters, right? Don't be, don't be
abusive and all that.
Don't be abusive to bus captains and everyone, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have that kind of thing for call centers.
Yeah.
You don't call in and then they tell you don't be abusive to call center agents. So it makes me feel like we are kind of like second-rate customer service.
But what is good, Jonathan, for all the call centers, every phone call is recorded, right?
Yes.
So I think that is very good.
Yeah.
But when it's certain places like retail and all, a lot of the abuse cannot be seen.
Yeah.
That's a problem. I mean, I always remember this because I always remember a video when I was overseas and I Googled about Singapore and what's happening in Singapore when there was this woman in this store in, I think, the Central or 313, and she was shouting at the China girls. I don't know whether you remember that. She was really screaming and shouting at that. And then it became very racist. From her losing something, then it became very racist. And to think that, have you got it? I don't know whether we can screen it because it's on YouTube. Okay, it's still on YouTube. And she started screaming and yelling and even going forward to slap the girl.
Oh my God.
Was it a spectacle shot?
Violent. It was turning violent when she was talking about you China girls and then go and fight for it. Find my thing in the changing room and something. I mean, she was really...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether you remember, Jonathan.
It was a spectacle shot.
Yes, it was a spectacle shot. Yeah. It was so fantastic because if the girl didn't record it, nobody would believe it. You see? And and little things like how people are behaving. For example, would you allow someone to cut your queue? Which happens a lot. Would you allow? Do we just let it go? What are you fighting for? But for me, I remember the most difficult time was when I was working with Ethan Allen, which was a furnishing interior store, New York furniture, but it was in Singapore. There was this person. Can we mention names? Okay, anyway. Can we mention names? Even family names, okay?
Make up a name. James.
James. Not his real name. Okay, so he came in with, and lucky I was the lead designer, so I had a lot of sales staff for me. And then the worst thing is that he came over. He was from overseas. All right, that's all I'm going to say. He was from overseas. He came here, and when I don't know if you've done retail, so it was a furnishing store, like furniture, and he would question every single thing about the furniture.
Wow.
You could tell he was doing it on purpose. It wasn't, what is it about the wood? He was like testing every sales staff. And 2 of the sales staff came in and started crying. It was really like belittling them. You're selling this, you don't even know about it. Like, where's the wood from? He probably asked which tree the thing was cut from. And it became ridiculous. There are some people like that. I don't know if he quarreled the wife or the wife didn't give it to him or something like that. I don't know. So I went out. Being the lead designer, I had to go out and handle. And I looked at him and I looked at the wife and I just answered his question. I think you cannot let these people break your wall. I think that's very important. And I hate whoever came up with the sentence, the customer is always right. It's like, fuck the person, okay? The person who ever said customer is always right, never owned a shop, never was an F&B, probably never sold anything in his life. Because the customer is not always right. I always say this, if the customer is always right, then the customer asks you for 80% discount. Yes, okay, the customer is right. Yeah. No, right? And then
what if they haven't paid? They're not customers if they haven't paid.
No, I don't. No, the customer is not always right. So I went there, I answered his question and smiled. And that broke his wall. That broke his wall. And then after that, honestly, he bought the whole set.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't stand is when you are still there and they adjust the products.
They adjust the products.
You are looking at something or even clothes, and you are still at the rack and they adjust it correctly again. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see, like trying to clean up after you.
When you are still there, it's not even clean up after you. You are still there looking at it. This happened when I was looking for something at is it Best Denki? Best at Bishan Junction 8.
Okay.
I was looking at food don't call it not grinders, but not blenders. Sorry, right? not blenders, but food processors, right? There were like 5 food processors, and so me and my friend were testing out, he was getting for the mother. So we were trying to test out how is it difficult to press down because the old lady can't press down too hard, right? And then we were just shifting a bit, and we were still there, and the sales girl just came and started adjusting, and I'm like, arranged nicely in 4. We haven't finished yet. I mean, and then you adjust, fine.
Yeah, she thinks you're too cheap to buy their products.
We're still standing in front,
So I guess good customer service, a good customer experience goes both ways, right? There are customers who are rude, and there are sales staff who are rude as well. But I think that we just need to have the understanding that we are just trying to do our jobs. We are just trying to get what we want, and if we are just if we can, all of us just be a little patient and just be a little nicer to our fellow human beings. I think we can just make this difficult period a little nicer for everyone. And I think this is going to be our Know Your Scandal segment.
Know Your Scandal segment.
Know Your Scandal.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so this is the segment where each of us discuss something that we have experienced, so that you guys can get to know us better. So, Ernest, why don't we start with you? What is the worst or most hateful thing that someone has said to you?
Sometimes I ever wonder if you grow out of being embarrassed or being teased. Well, I guess a lot of us have been bullied before, but I think bullying is, I don't know, is it hurtful? But to me, actually, the most hurtful thing was being dyslexic and people not understanding it. And when I was in school, I was just constantly being called stupid and callous and stupid and very stupid. And now I laugh about it, but trust me, when you're in school, it doesn't help. You're so stupid. But because they didn't understand my learning disability, that's the thing. They didn't understand what's wrong. And I think that is one of the most hurtful things, and the other hurtful thing is when I was being bullied, in school constantly, and I go back and a parent would just say, oh, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt you, so don't bother. I tell you, I got so mad because is that supposed to help me? They don't understand what I go through every day in classroom for being teased, and they go like, oh, don't worry, it's just words. I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? Okay, so
words are hurtful,
Yeah, words are hurtful. I mean, I now as I grow up, I can imagine. Can you imagine if we were smart? If I was smart and I turned around and said, "Oh, words are not hurtful," and I said, "You are an awful parent," I wonder how they would feel.
Basically, for most of my life, I've been struggling with weight issues since as young as I was 9. So it's been like decades of struggle. But the worst comment I've actually been told was, there was one time I was taking a cab, and while I was on the cab driver kept on harping on the weight issue. So he would say like, how heavy are you? How fat are you? Have you always been this fat? And the worst part came when he said like, I'll bet you that even if you paid a prostitute, she would not sleep with you. That was the worst thing in my entire life so far that I've heard.
And
What? You don't want to sleep with her either. Okay.
But still, I mean, like to hear that kind of thing coming from a service provider, you know, it's like, I mean, yeah, I didn't get off the cab, but I mean, I completed the ride. But honestly speaking, that was the most uncomfortable taxi.
Okay, was it an old uncle or?
It was an old uncle. Yeah.
Did you call the cab company?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah, I feel that I'm very much into minding our own business. You know, if it doesn't concern us.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if it's the right thing to do, we should speak up. You know, we shouldn't let people be bullied, or or just we shouldn't make we shouldn't let people get away with bad behavior. Let's just say, you know, but things like, well, appearance, or things where that's really nothing wrong. It's none of your business. You know, even if you don't like it, just shut up. You know,
Yeah.
get the job done. Yeah. And really, there's really nothing wrong with you. You are fine just the way you are, and you know.
The problem is, what is his relation to you? That is the problem.
Yeah. I find that could very well be his own issues, you know, that he's projecting on you. Yeah.
That was very wrong. Yeah. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah. Well, you know, even when I was a child, I was very skinny and very effeminate. Actually, I was a girly, effeminate child. And while I enjoy doing like boy things, you know, like I love watching wrestling, and I watched He-Man, which was very popular when I was young, when I was small. Yeah, but I've always been very girly, and I also enjoy like the feminine aspects of these things. You know, I always wish that there were more female wrestler matches, and I love watching She-Ra as well. In addition to He-Man, you know, I can't wait for the next She-Ra appearance on He-Man. Yeah, and so on. Yeah, and so that's something that I was bullied for in school. Yeah, in some not very kind ways, and even relatives would say to me that you know, you need to man up. You know, I think there was a relative that was well-meaning. We were watching TV, and there was something that's kind of like gay adjacent being shown, you know, and he looked at me and said, "We don't accept that in our family, yeah." Yeah, it's like, and for him it was just a passing remark, you know. I don't think he remembered it after he said it, but that's something that just stuck with me.
But
Yeah,
that's what they say about racist comments, passing remarks.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
No.
Well, I was a small child, so it didn't
That's
occur.
worse.
I didn't know what being gay meant, you know. I was just being myself. And yeah, but somehow that comment stuck with me, and you know, with each passing year, and now I'm an out and proud gay man, and yeah, but you know, that was like 20 years ago. Societal views have changed, norms have changed. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but I hope that he has a change of heart. However, you know, I've moved on. I have my own way of life.
Because he's your relative, you still meet up with him?
Well, only during festivities like Chinese New Year, pretty much only once a year. Yeah. So you know, we lead separate lives already, and I'm very fortunate to have found my tribe. I'm very fortunate to have you guys as my friends. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm in a much better place now. All right, I think we have a special guest. Special guest, could you please reveal yourself? Hi.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, AJ.
I'm back. I literally just got back from a shoot. So I'm like super exhausted, but I'm just looking forward to seeing you guys.
Well, we are about to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, and we felt that we can't have a discussion about Drag Race without you,
Without you,
right?
Oh my God, I'm so
Yeah.
honored.
Yeah,
What
but
will
we have a question. Our Know Your Scandal panel.
Mhm.
What is the most hurtful thing that someone has said to you or about you? Yeah.
Okay, the most hurtful thing that person has said to me.
Mm.
Well, I'm not sure whether how personal is this going to be like, but
We went very
Yeah.
personal.
okay.
Trust
So I'm
me,
going to
we
go
went
very
very
personal
personal.
about this. This happens like literally 5 years ago, and this person that whom I thought that I was going to marry
Oh dear.
apparently proposed to me and telling me that he want to spend the rest of his life with me. So I was like really was up in the air. I was like, I couldn't believe this was happening. It was like dream
Mhm.
comes true and everything. And the next thing I know is like he just went berserk. And I had to actually put aside everything to just want to move across the pond just to spend time with him. And that also takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of separation from my family and friends in
Mhm.
Singapore. So it was a really hard decision, but especially when love is concerned, you do
Yeah.
all things, right?
Yeah.
So when I went there just to spend a few weeks to a few months with him, obviously things did not turn out the way it was, and obviously
Mhm.
turns out that it was a complete disaster. He was complete narcissist, and turns out that he was said to me that I'm the worst thing that happens in his life, and he literally like chased me out. And the first thing I noticed that when I felt that I was in danger, I literally had to leave the house just to find friends to take refuge because I felt that I wasn't safe at his place anymore. So at the end of the day, it's like he texted me, he asked me to go. The very next day he asked me to go back to his place and take my belongings. And literally, he's like, he told me never to come back to the house again. And I was like, wow, this is really becoming. I came all the way, like, 100,000 miles away just to, be with you. And then you say this kind of thing to me. And that must be seriously disturbed. So at that moment, it's like when I actually got my things, because I kind of stand by, first thing first, what's in my head, I have to find a place to stay. So I
Yeah.
managed to get some friends over there, and I managed to emergency, like able to stay over at their place, because they were like kind of like last minute, they were able to take care of me. But turns out in the end, it's like when I was going through my stuff, when I was unpacking my stuff, right, I realized that the wedding ring that he gave me, whom I actually put it inside one of my pouches, was gone. So when I actually left the house, he actually went through my stuff. I was really, really mad. I was really upset. It was such an upsetting that it's beyond tears. To the point of
I
time,
know.
I was really confused. I was really numb. I was like, wow, I did not expect that I ended up like being this person that it's completely opposite of what I thought he would be. And he literally kind of showed the ugliness side of himself, which is so disgusting. I can't even have the heart to text him that I hate him. At the point of time, what I did is that, you know what? I just did what I thought that is necessary to take care of myself. So I filed
Yeah.
a police report,
Mhm.
knowing that through this police report, I can file claims for having theft, because I actually applied for travel insurance at the time. So that travel insurance actually lasted me for about a year, and it still was valid at the time. So I used that to claim travel claims for theft. So that was the only consolation out of it, but still it wasn't enough to compensate the disgusting, horrible experience that I had, which actually put me in such a situation that I actually went to oblivion for 5 years, and I couldn't speak to anybody. I completely cut myself up from the circle of friends over here in Singapore, because I felt that those friends that claims to have were not really my friends, and they only just there because they just want me to be part of the circle, because I'm the kind of you know the vase to be
Party.
part of the background. But turns out that, yeah, so it really sucks, because when I actually spent 3 to 4 hours talking to them when they needed help the most, and this is the time where I really wish I could lean on some emotional support. They weren't there for me. And turns out that I was so upset. I mean, like, I literally cried, it's like, and I just realized that it wasn't such the time like this. And I realized that this so-called friends, or this so-called circle of friends that I was with, are not really the circle of friends. So I completely cut myself up. And you know what? So far, when I was told that I was part of the scene, I took myself out of the scene. So what is the scene anymore?
Yeah.
Now, so in the end, I guess this is the worst thing that everyone can say. To cut the long story short, or to round it up, I would say that this is the worst thing that someone could say to me, that I'm the worst person that happened in his life.
You're the worst thing that happened in his life, right?
Yeah.
He said that. Okay,
That's
just to
terrible.
verify,
Yeah.
you're across the pond is not Sentosa, right?
Sentosa still technically Singapore.
It was across, not Malaysia.
Across the pond, which means it's halfway around the globe, which is in the US
Yeah.
of A.
Yeah, okay.
Literally the other half
the
of
other-
the
yeah,
other
half
side
of
of
the
the
world.
world.
No.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it,
Yeah.
How this
Well, thank you for
yeah.
sharing with us, AJ. We share these stories in the hopes that you listeners will find something. It's something that you guys can relate to, and it helps you guys in some way or other. And this is really such a terrible incident. It's even worse than say going on the biggest drag competition in the world, making top 4, and then becoming back to top 5, and then getting kicked out of the competition. Speaking of which, how did you guys find All Stars? Yeah.
You guys know that earlier on I already told you I love Eureka. All right, so I'm very happy for them.
Yeah,
I
I'm
really
happy for her. Yeah, I'm glad that she's back. I'm not surprised based on last week's episode. I kind of knew it, so my prediction is always correct. So I'm never
Yeah.
wrong.
I think that suspenseful ending is just so that they don't want to eliminate Silky on an episode where she was riding so high. It will be such a downer for that episode, so they just saved it to the next episode to announce the results. I mean, like top 4, like imagine like you thought that you're a finalist and then you're not the finalist. Yeah.
Oh, but I think Silky kind of like, she had a good run. She knows that she's probably not going to make it all the way to the top, because obviously, let's put it this way. If Silky would have won the lip sync all the way, let's put it this way. If she has beaten Eureka and she went to join back the so-called the final 5, and the next challenge, do you think that she will win the challenge? Unfortunately, because we all know that happens in drag race history in such a way that it's always the system that goes. If you get called back and you don't win the next challenge,
you'll be
out.
Bye-bye.
Well, she is a good talker, so she can tell stories.
No doubt that this episode, Silky actually had a very good redemption. But overall, let's ask yourself a very honest question. Do you think she has what it takes to actually to win the whole thing? Do you think she has what it takes to be an All-Stars winner? Come on, guys, be honest with me right now, because I know one thing for sure. Compared to the other top 4, Silky.
I think it's hard to say because we are basing our impression on their last appearance in the regular season. No one would have thought that Trinity K. Bonet or Sonique in season 2 would be a finalist in All Star 6.
Oh, they definitely stepped up a lot, because I feel that Trinity K. Bonet and Raja himself, Kylie, Sonique. I mean, Eureka has always been very consistently strong. I mean, you guys agree, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The proportionized, even though she's a plus size girl. She's her sense of drag has always been very strong. Kylie, Sonic Love, and Raja were by mile the greatest improvement out from their own season. All right, Trinity K. Bonet definitely an improvement, even though, to be honest with you, right, I don't even remember TKB. When she first came out, I was like, wait a minute, which season?
Oh, I remember.
I remember.
Not me.
Yeah.
So she wasn't. She was kind of forgettable then. So in the end, it had to take an All-Stars for her to kind of like, oh wow, okay. I remember TKB. Sonique, on the other hand, I remember her, even though she left very early during season 2, right? But Sony has always been very strong, and I've always liked her drag because, you know, especially her lip sync against who was it? Her final lip sync before she was eliminated.
Morgan McMichaels.
Morgan McMichaels, obviously.
Of hearts.
That's right. And Morgan McMichaels is such a strong lip sync assassin, literally. So obviously, you know, given the popularity, obviously Sonic is always kind of like more laid back. She's a more introvert type. We all know it. And she's always out to admit it.
It wasn't even about who was the better lip syncer. It's that it's about like, is it like
popularity.
It's about the style, you know, because Morgan McMichaels is very good at inhibiting the song, the character, and telling the story, while Sonic does these amazing acrobatics, you know. So Ru herself said in that episode that it was very hard for her to decide which one to pick, and then she went for Morgan McMichaels because it's still a lip sync competition after all, not an acrobatics competition, you know.
But Trinity has always been like, I mean, she's always been very frank and very candid in her confessionals. So every time you realize that what everybody is like, they will give their very reactive confessionals. I think they're very dramatic, but they're still funny in a way. Like Raja would be like, "Oh my god," and then it's like, you know, and Sonic would be like, "Hell no," and then it's like, and Ginger Me's like, he'll give the stare in the crowd, and like, bling 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 bling. So it's like it's funny, but it's a surprise reaction. But Trinity K. Bonet, the first thing was to do in the confessionals. This is some kind of hell of
I'm like, this
literally the entire shooting, right, from the workroom and everything, she's sourpuss all the way. So obviously producers can sense it, Ru can sense it. Obviously she knows that she's defeated already. And that maybe that's the part that they say, you know what, that's a part for you, bye-bye. And the very fact that she knows because of her track record, she's been the bottom 3 times. And then she lost all the lip sync, even though she's a winner. So it literally didn't do any justice. For her, she should be happy see that she made it to the top 5. I mean, I do understand her. I do understand the feelings because it's somehow like get this kind of feeling like, okay, when she goes into the final 4 and then it's like suddenly the call back, then she's gonna get kicked out and stuff like that. But all the queens should know this concept by then. You know that there is a game within the game, regardless what season, whatever how it's being brand differently. People are going to come back. Are you going to be so threatened and say, "Oh my god, this person's coming back"? But obviously, the moment she saw Eureka came back, right, her heart sank because she knew that she's the next to go.
Okay, talking about it, what are your thoughts on this Trinity and Eureka flirting?
Oh, they just have a show only.
Showman.
I think it is a showman's. I think to some extent, you know, because it is a very difficult environment to be in. I think they do find comfort in each other, at least temporarily, you know, even just a hug, a little physical contact.
But it's interesting that
a little intimacy.
Why not anyone else? Why not Eureka and Ginger? Why not, you know?
Ginger is married.
No, but
it's not alone.
But
don't talk about Sonic. Do you want to go with a trans woman? Okay, before I'm
no,
say,
but it was
going to be very
neutral,
careful.
you see.
I can't be slapped with a transphobic slur. Yeah, obviously, you know what I mean? Like, okay,
but it was neutral. That was the beauty of it, you know? We don't care who is with what, it was mutual.
So having discussed US, shall we now sail across the pond to the land of windmills? How was Holland for you guys?
Oh, speaking of showman, what do you think of the Countess and Vivaldi?
Lesbian sex.
I think that this is not the experience to be on Drag Race, though. You know, I think the insiders among us, we know that they were Fred's hair and makeup artists in the first season. Yeah, So actually, they know everyone in the crew, in the creative team already. Yeah. Well, no matter what, let's not forget that RuPaul's Drag Race is, after all, just a TV show, not an actual competition. So while we get very invested in it, let's just take it with a grain of salt and remember that it's really just for fun. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our episode. We hope that you've had fun watching us, and please don't forget to like
And subscribe.
Comment.
And share with all your friends.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.